Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Club Racing UK podcast, powered by Silver Lake Automotive Recycling. We're back. It's Wednesday nights. It is your host, Robert Lewis, with Nick Holmes and Stefan Marsh of Club Racing UK, and we've got four wonderful guests for you this evening from the world of Clubman's prototype racing, and we can't wait to learn a lot more about these mental machines. They are phenomenal bits of kit, absolutely phenomenal. So joined with us this evening is Mike Evans and Pete Richings, Mathieu Gautier Thornton, I hope I've got that right, Matthew, and Chris Pratt, who you may have seen on the show before. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Right. How are we all doing?
Good. Yeah, we're all good, thank you.
Yeah, very good.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. We're all here. We've got a couple of comments that have floated in already. Vicky Pratt, who is located probably in another room from Chris. Jason Stone joins us this evening. Jonathan Bevan joins us this evening.
Evening, everyone.
I've just noticed, I'm looking out my window here, it's getting to that point of the year, isn't it, chaps? It's 8 o'clock and the light is starting to dim. Summer is ending.
Yeah.
It's the last day of August, which means that race season is just trickling into the embers and back into the winter. So,
roll on Christmas.
Anyone notice, though? Shut up. No. Get out.
Yeah, because you can get that dodgy jumper on again with it. It sings its own song.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'll have a new one this year, don't worry. Does anyone notice, though, like, heading towards, like, the peak of summer, you're like, yeah, and then you, like, get to the longest day of the year, and it's like, boom, dark. Just there's no gradual decline the other side. It's just dark, cold.
I mean, you've got a good point, but, yeah.
Literally, leave work in the morning at 5:15, and it's just like, jumper on, it's pitch black. I'm like, what's happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we've got some more people that joined us on the show tonight. Our usual mob: Matt Cleary, Cody Tree, Trudy Stone joins us. Matt Cleary does make the point, especially about the races in November time. Worse for these guys as they're on slicks, Triple Eights and icy tracks. We've got all of that to come, ladies and gentlemen. So, in this episode, we are going to be talking about the Clubmans series. So, if you haven't seen them before, we've got some pictures. We're going to go into this in more detail later when we talk with our lovely guests about it. But these mental machines, because if you think about prototype racing, you probably think of radicals and anything that races at Le Mans. But the fact that we've got these machines racing on UK circuits in club racing is just phenomenal. And we can't wait to talk and tell the people all about some phenomenal Clubmans racing. But for the moment, we start off with our news roundup. Sorry to cut you off, Nick.
That's fine. I'm used to it. Been doing this long enough now, haven't we, Rob?
Yeah, pretty much. Is it me or did that video play very, very, very fast towards the end? That was not at a set speed.
No. And you still need to cut the end out.
I do need to cut the end out, don't I?
Why? What's wrong with the end?
It just holds too long. It's just awkward. An awkward end.
An awkward end.
On with the podcast.
On with the podcast. Right, so down to our news around that. Now, it would be... apologies, gents, but it would be remiss of me not to mention, unfortunately, the weekend's just gone. There's been some quite high-profile incidents, particularly at Thruxton. Also at Castle Combe on Monday as well. They had to release a statement on Monday morning. And we, as a collective, as Club Racing UK, our guest, and I'm sure everyone watching, we just want to send our best wishes to Charles Neil Jones, who was unfortunately quite badly injured at Castle Combe on Monday, and to Mike Brown and Colin White. Get well soon, guys, and hopefully we'll see you back out on the race circuit soon.
Yeah, we certainly don't like seeing it at any level, do we? As it hits home a little bit harder when you see fellow guys that you'll be on the track with. So, yeah, get well soon, guys.
Absolutely.
See you very soon.
Right. I'm going to excite you guys, especially Nick, because we know, we love talking about this. But it was the annual 2CV 24-hour race. Absolutely.
Yes.
It's like every week it's the annual 24-hour C1 race. C1? C2? What are they?
2CVs. You should know that.
God, I should. My brain switches off every time I see them.
I do have to point out at this point, the post went out on the BARC website that, the leaders of the 2CV 24-hour race was covered by 1.5 seconds, and it was fantastic. It was brilliant. And Team Toyshed did indeed win from Team Slarky Malarkey. I do need to point out at this moment they were both minis.
Oh.
I just need to put that out there to be factually correct. The 2CV 24 hours was won by a 1000cc Mini. Do with that what you will. The actual 2CV class was won by Team Lion Racing, but
how many 24-hour races do they have a year?
One.
No way. You're on about it all the time. Surely there's more than one.
No, it's a big part of British
It was just a massive build-up step when we had the show for the 24 hours, multiple cars.
Exactly.
We spoke for hours about all the different 24-hour races available, and you were absolutely just glued
if you haven't seen
the
it,
idea
guys,
of
head over to the YouTube channel and have a little watch of the 24-hour podcast special.
Absolutely. But the one thing I do like about any 24-hour race is you do get photos like this. I like that. So that's obviously coming under the bridge into the right hand.
Cool.
That is very cool. So that's the 2CV 24 hours covered, gents. We'll move on from it, Steph. It's okay.
Just quickly, because I'm a bit bamboozled by this. So the 2CV race, because as you say, Bark excited it that they were 1.5 seconds away from each other. What was the gap between the winning 2CV and second place?
Well, the second place 2CV.
Yeah.
It was quite a few laps.
Because not gonna lie, I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty cool." But
yeah.
What
I'm
more?
not going to lie, okay. And I've, as we all know, I keep going on about it. I do know I've mentioned this millions of times. I have raced in this race, and the big thing about that race is the one that has the less engine, the one that has the less engine changes, the less anything.
Yeah, it's the same with any 24-hour race, isn't it?
So yeah, it's the one that's least reliable wins. Unfortunately, if you're in a field of Citroens, that's a toss-up. So yeah, we'll just leave that there. However, Castle Combe did have a fantastic race meeting, albeit without the difficulties they had, because it was their annual Dave Allen Trophy race.
Oh, I love that weekend.
It was a very good weekend. The bit I love about Combe, right? I saw this picture. Well, yeah, the Monday. The bit I love about this, though, so that is a club race, and they're doing grid walks for club racing.
Yeah.
I like this.
This is why we love Castle Combe.
Yeah, absolutely.
The atmosphere those guys put on is second to none, and other organisers and tracks should bloody take notice of what Castle Combe do. Because, I love that weekend. Annoyingly, I could have gone and I didn't. But, great weekend of racing.
It happens, Nick. I'm sure you will get there next year. Team Dynamics actually had a presence there. Obviously, Dave Allen, it was his tie-up with Honda, and the work he used to do with Honda. So Team Dynamics took down their touring car fresh from Thruxton. They didn't even give it a clean. It was sat there, Shedden's 52 Honda Type R, and they had a couple of their guys in the TCR car that they've just brought out in the Dave Allen race. But the bit that was really cool for me, check this out. So, So it may not seem a lot to you, but this is a production spec Civic Type R. I believe it was raced by Dave Allen in period. This will be going up for sale shortly. Kevin Hatfield's got the car out. We know the Hatfields quite well, obviously racing with them in the Modified Ford Series. Unfortunately, he did have a DNF in the race. He dropped away sort of last 5 minutes in the race with a bit of an issue. But with a car that old and quite highly strung, they were super production, but they are quite highly strung cars.
It's a Honda. They're indestructible.
Well, it's 25 years old, Nick. You've got to give it a bit of a chance. Do you know what I mean?
Hold on. That makes us sound ridiculously old when you say that.
I know.
It's 25 years old. We've got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I know.
Sounds like we're
absolutely.
talking about, I'm not going into this.
He's only like 23 or something, I think.
Well, I mean, to put it into context, I would have watched this race when I was sort of 10, 11, sort of mid 2000s, 2001. I would have been 10 years old then. So I feel very old watching that. Nick probably feels even older because, as we all know, he's nearly 40. And
poor soul.
Just to rub it in a bit more. But the Dave Allen Trophy race was won by the Everett and Scrimmage Ginetta. Obviously, like I said, the Team Dynamics did have a presence there as well. The Formula Ford 1600 race was won by Felix Fischer on a bit of a smaller grid than usual. I know they're not struggling for numbers, but they're competing with numbers at the moment with the National Formula Ford 1600 Championship. So it's a case of as and when the drivers can commit to Combe or go and do the national stuff for the moment. In the GT race, now, we call this club racing. Lucky Carer won it and set a new lap record of a 1 minute, 4 seconds, 0.355 in a GT3 Lamborghini. As you do.
I know that guy is in a different car every time I see him, and they're all just bonkers.
He is a bit. It is a bit. Just out of curiosity, so the Clubmans cars. I mean, we know that the Clubmans cars are bonkers in terms of speed anyway, and the engineer that goes on. When was the last time you raced at Combe, and what sort of lap times did you have?
Well, the last time I raced at Combe was before they put the chicanes in. So that's not going to help you.
No, so I've been there since, Pete, and I've raced there. Is it 10? Is it 108 or 106? Is something like that. I think
I'm looking it up now. See if I can find it.
Christ.
No, hang on. Maybe I'm wrong then. Hang on.
I'll have a look.
I'm going to say we do have a table of lap records.
I can probably find it for you.
Yeah.
There you go. Combe. Oh, it's not on the CSP1
No, it won't be CSP1. It'll be
modern, yeah.
No,
it'll be Protos or the A-class cars.
No, it'll be an A-class, won't it?
Yeah.
Oh, here we
Well,
go.
there you go. By the end of the show, let's find out roughly what they're lapping.
We'll have it quicker than that, I'm sure.
Oh, okay.
We also had a bit of a record in the Castle Combe Saloons. Adam Preble won again. Let's be honest, that's no surprise to anyone. But
They might as well just hand the bloke the trophy. They might as well just go on the starting grid, put the trophy in the car. Maybe that will hamper him a little bit, but it's going to be his anyway.
I genuinely think so. Adam Preble won, but I think the record there was he was being chased by 3 Audi TTs. So that sets a record for most Audi TTs in a motor race, because I've never seen more than 1 or 2 across the whole of the motor racing spectrum at one point. And somehow 3 turned up at Combe and chased Adam Preble close in the saloon race. As we heard, obviously
trying to sell him hair products, probably.
No comment.
Just while we're on Combe, I can tell you the Clubmans lap record's 1:07.
1:07. That's astounding. That
so you had Lucky Kara did a 1:04 in a Lamborghini GT3 car, and you guys were 3 seconds behind that.
Yeah, and it's about 190 brake horsepower car. It will be.
Yeah, and a few years ago. So
yes, yeah.
Bloody hell! And there you go. This is exactly why we wanted to talk to you guys about, these prototypes, because they are just bonkers. We spoke to Chris about it, and we'll go into it in depth in a minute. But yeah, we're looking forward to it for sure.
Absolutely. The HRDC did have a presence there as well. I was actually speaking to Amy Watts while I was covering the C1 race a couple of weeks ago, and she was really looking forward to going to Combe. Unfortunately, the incident in question with the poor chap that was taken to hospital happened in the HRDC Jack Sears Trophy. Ben Colburn did take out that race in the Mini, but the race was ultimately stopped. So as a result of all the bunching up, they didn't get a chance to run. They hit curfew before they can run the hot hatch race. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've just got to give a shout out to Chris Dawes and the Castle Combe team down there, because they always put on a fantastic meeting. And when you have something like that happen in a race situation like that, you can't help it. I think everyone was feeling what had happened at Thruxton the weekend before, the day before. And that, it's not great. So yeah, big love to those guys, and hopefully recovery soon. And the other race meeting that I like stuff that catches the eye, something a bit different. It's something you wouldn't normally actually catch on TSL. It was the Battle of Britain race meeting with the Darlington District Motor Club at Croft. So they only actually had 2 car classes racing there. They have a mixture of cars and bikes. Focus Cup was out, albeit with diminished numbers. They had about 11 or 12 over the weekend. Gary Mitchell and Max Coates took a guest drive to share the wins. Yes, Nick?
Sorry, the Focus Cup, as in the newer Focuses.
Yes.
I was going to say diminishing numbers, because ST170s are a cost of Cosworths.
Seriously, when have I ever said that? When have I ever said that?
Many shows ago.
Many shows
Sorry,
ago.
carry on with your flow. I just thought I'd get a little jibe in.
Yeah, carry on. And the other one, you'll like this, guys. A Beetle won 2 races as part of the Northern Saloon and Sports Car Championship, but it's no normal Beetle. Look at that thing.
What is that?
I looked at a picture of the back end of it, and it looks like a Beetle crashed into the back of a Radical.
That is 100% a Radical. Someone just put the top on because he doesn't like getting wet. That is 100% what that is.
It is. I mean, I can tell you that actually, my wife Joy and I were at the Battle of Britain meeting, because we went up because she quite enjoys taking photographs of sidecar racing. And that is a Radical with a bit of plastic on top.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to him, because it is very. I can imagine it's bloody quick.
Yeah.
Probably the fastest a Beetle top's ever gone. But Matty Cobb did win both of the Class A and E counters of that, because they split the grids. And the Class B, C, and D grids had 32 cars on it, which is phenomenal. It didn't quite start off well for the poor Lotus Elise in the picture there. But I can tell you they did also crown their champion, because albeit Kirk Armitage and Mike Williamson shared the wins on that massive grid, Mike Williamson has walked away with the overall championship. So we've got our first champion of the year. So
well, hey.
There we go. Well done to Mike Williamson. And that there concludes our racing roundup for today. I picked 3 meetings that are a bit different.
Yeah, that's what we like. That's what it's about, isn't it? Can't all be bloody cup and road sports and everything else. That's what it's about.
Well,
showcasing everything that is on offer.
Exactly. Although talking about Civic Cup, well, I just want to say, Dan, I hope you're watching tonight. If not, I understand, mate. But
100%.
Dan Thackeray, well done on the weekend. You owe us a shoey. Nick Vaughan, you still owe us several shoeys. And Steph owes us a shoey as well. Just putting it out
there. No, seriously, though, well done, Dan. That was right place, right time in that first race, wasn't it, for sure?
I'll do mine at the Burkett.
You'll do yours at the Burkett. You're pushing it.
I'm not going to do it sat here in my spare room. That's just weird.
Well, Anyway, back to the comments. So Sam Pierce Motorsport mentions the R888s and he says, perfect wet tyre. He should know.
I think they're better in the wet than they are on the dry.
Yeah, I think so. Jeremy Evans, evening fellas. Evening, Jeremy Evans.
Evening,
good to see you. Yeah, get your shoey.
Yeah. He puts his money where his mouth is and does it when we ask him to.
Absolutely.
Boot where his mouth is, yeah.
Absolutely. Now, gents, we've got our first Clubman's comment. Cody Tree comments, Castle Combe should be a Clubman's race. So we'll
ask his local track.
The nearest to where he lives, that's why he's saying.
See, don't think smart. Don't think hard, think smart. Matt Cleary on the this is obviously talking about the Castle Combe grid walk. Matt Cleary, I could be Grod's grid boy. Fair enough. If you want to put something attractive in the front of your car, Matt Cleary's your man.
I was going to say hot pants and vest optional.
Absolutely. To be honest, they can't look any worse than you did in those briefs at the bloody C1 24 hours, Nick.
No, I'm not having it.
You and a set of budgie smugglers is probably the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Never. No, that's not true.
Okay.
You were staring at my bum as I was scooting off on Tom's electric scooter. I saw you.
Yeah, I've been rumbled. Jonathan Bevan makes a good point. My DC5 will be in historics soon.
It's painfully true.
Who did I have this conversation with the other week? But we were talking about the fact, oh my God, we're getting old. But someone actually said to me the fact that anyone that races a car that's from the 90s is starting to struggle to get spare parts now. That's when it hits home that you're getting old. Because I was born in the 90s. This is unacceptable. Just
you boys.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've mentioned a couple of age-related comments this evening.
Now, Cody Tree does comment here. In a CSP1 car, I did a 103 at Combe.
At Combe, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
Unofficial, of course.
He's local circuits, so he does lots of testing
there.
So, but no, seriously, it is one of the circuits we would love to go back to. It's been some years since I raced there, and a classic Clubmans car, a Class A car, a brilliant circuit it is.
Fantastic. Nick Braun now comments, Dolt, they found me. And he also comments as well, well done, Dan, amazing race. Right, I think it's time to stop messing around. It's time to talk about our main subject tonight. So, Clubman's prototypes. Now, I had a look at one of these with Chris at the Silverstone National earlier this year, and I was absolutely amazed. Just the look of the cars, but just the sheer engineering that goes into these. And they've absolutely fascinated me ever since. When Chris said that there was an opportunity to get you guys on, of course we had to get you guys to come on
absolutely.
The Clubman series. And I know Nick and Steph are really excited to get you guys on. So today's topic for the ladies and gentlemen who are just joining us is the Clubman's series, found nowadays on the MSV package and, of course, classic Clubmans as well for the older spec cars. Now, a little bit about the series itself. Now, not word for word, this is taken directly from the Clubman's website. So it's a sports prototype championship, effectively, controlled by the Clubman's register. It's cost effective, but it allows you to engineer the car yourself and develop it across 4 different classes. It's slicks and wings, flat floors. Fantastic. So without further ado, let's talk to our 4 guests about it. So who wants to go first? How did the whole Clubman's idea sort of come about? Because it dates back to 1965, does it not?
It does. As the oldest member here, perhaps I'll talk about the history. It did start in 1965, and it started because people in Lotus 7s predominantly, which were quite new then, were starting to win all the sports and GT races and embarrassing people with much more expensive cars. So Nick Syret, who then was the boss of the BRSCC, came up with this idea. Well, let's just invent a class called Clubmans to put these cars into and let them race on their own and leave these people with more expensive cars to race in the sports GT races. And the first Clubmans races took place in 1965, and it just all grew from there. And then, so it was predominantly Lotus 7s. Then people started building cars specially for it. In particular, Major Arthur Mallock, who created the Mallock, what he then called U2 cars. U2 can have a car like mine. Which is where the name came from, and they sort of got quicker and quicker and less like Lotus 7s. They got lower, wider, and then in time started spraying wings sort of late in the 60s, and during the 1970s it was the sort of battle between Clubmans and Formula 3 as to which was the quicker on the British circuits. I mean, at Cadwell Park, for instance, during the 70s, it was, there'd be a Formula 3 race and they'd do the fastest, the outright lap record. Then there'd be a Clubman's race and that would overtake it. And the battle went on like that during the 70s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's all developed from there. We've had, the chairman of our club is, have I got it right? Or president of our club is Derek Bell, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Derek Bell started racing a Lotus 7 back in the 60s, and he's actually remained as our president all the time. And he does look in and see us every now and then when he's in the country.
Oh.
I haven't seen him for a few years now, but he does keep in touch, which is really nice. And a few famous people have passed through Clubmans. Of course, Ray Mallock, who went on to establish a name for himself at Le Mans and the British touring cars. It was his dad that sort of created those early Mallocks right through to the 90s. When Arthur died, of course. But so Ray was a champion in Clubmans, and of course, I guess the man who went on to achieve the most in Clubmans was Will Hoy. I mean, Will Hoy was a multiple Clubmans champion before he went on to race in touring cars and GTs. So,
yes, and that was all through the 1980s up to sort of late 1980s. He was doing that, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. He started racing with one of his rugby club friends, Hugh Chamberlain, who has also got quite a history at Le Mans. So Will was extremely successful in Clubmans before he moved on to greater things. So we raced, for many years with. We left the BRSCC, having created the formula. We then raced for decades with both BARC and BRDC. BRDC sort of lasted until early 2000s, and then it was predominantly with the BARC. And then we moved to MSVR 3 years ago. And like all categories, we've had sort of boom periods and then sort of thinner periods. But the move to MSVR has certainly created a great deal of interest and support for the category. And earlier this year at the Silverstone meeting you mentioned, we had the biggest grid of Clubman's cars we've had for 20 years. We had 33 cars on the grid.
Yeah.
And I think you'll recognise in these days for a quick formula like that, then that's a pretty good entry to have. And even during as this year's gone on, and I think most categories are finding it a bit more difficult. We got 29 cars entered for our meeting at Brands Hatch in a fortnight, which is we could only start one more on Brands Hatch Indy Circuit because 30 is the maximum. So we're getting really, really, really good support now in our four courses, as you mentioned.
Awesome.
I mean that's good. I mean, so obviously you mentioned now with the you've still got the good grids and the interest in it. Is it mainly people that are interested in the racing, or the having a car that they can develop as well at home and sort of contain their costs their way and still find a way to race competitively? What still brings the attraction to the series?
I think it's a mixture of those things. You've got some people who just love building and tinkering and preparing cars, and you got other people who are, absolutely focused on being the best driver they can possibly be, and they get a bit of help with preparing the car. But there's very few people that are just arrive and drive. And most of our competitors own the cars themselves, prepare them themselves, bring them to the circuit themselves. And that's really been the way Clubmans has always been, and that helps to keep the costs under control, despite the fact that it's a pretty quick category. I mean, these days, you look at lap times in our quickest class, which we call CSP1. If you compare the lap times with British touring cars, then at any circuit we go to that's the same as touring cars, we're always within about a second of the quickest touring car. We do it in all different places, of course. They're much quicker down the straights and we're much quicker around the corners. But the actual lap time at any of the circuit we go to is damn near the same as a British touring car. And I can tell you, we don't spend anything like they spend to get the cheap.
No.
So I'll come to Mike Evans. So where did the Clubmans racing start for yourself?
It started for myself. When I was at school, the lad next to me in class lived opposite somebody with a Clubmans car, and I ended up going down helping them, and the rest is history. So we started traveling around the countryside, and then I took over having a drive. I think I first drove the car when I was 21, and I've driven a few other cars since, Formula Ford, saloons and whatever, but I've always come back to Clubmans. Really good value for money, good fast racing, close racing, really enjoyable. This is it. Once we've driven other things. The Clubmans cars are just so nice after most other types of cars, and I am biased and everything like that, but they're absolutely brilliant, fun cars to drive. And it was interesting talking about the lap time at Castle Combe, because we race alongside the GT Cup series, and quite often our fastest guys would be 5th or 6th on the grid of a GT Cup series, and the guys from the GT Cup come over, look at our cars and can't believe how we can be as quick as them. And we're probably spending, I don't know, whether it's like a 20th of their budget or something like that. I mean, it's just different league, but nevertheless, the speeds and lap times are so similar.
That for me is brilliant. I mean, like you say, I don't know about everybody else, but predominantly as a racing driver, going as fast as you can is always the aim, is it not? Regardless of winning or this, that, and that. Just going as fast as you can in a vehicle. I'd imagine, again, I guess that's probably why you have such a great appeal and such a great grid size.
And having a good race with your fellow competitors.
Yes,
even if you're not winning, if you can be having a good battle for 3rd place, 13th place, if you go home having had a good battle, and one of the things that we sort of pride ourselves on is we've got very competitive drivers, but they'll give you a bit of room as well. We aren't the sort of cars that you can go sort of leaning on each other. There's a lot of respect between the drivers.
Absolutely. I mean, these kind of pictures that we've been sent sort of proves the point that very competitive cars, very different cars as well. The styles across these cars are very, very, very different across them. But there's lots of racing room being provided. I mean, this is obviously more of your classic Clubman's grids. You could sort of tell, obviously, between the modern stuff and between the classic stuff. I mean, those do remind me of an old 70s Formula 2, Formula 3 car in their looks. But so this is probably going to be sort of directed more at Mathieu and Chris now. So what's the best way to get these, particularly? I mean, I know you guys work on more the modern Clubman's cars, but what's the best way to get these cars to work? What's sort of the foundations of these cars?
Do you want to go first, Chris?
No, that's one for you from a driving point of view.
Well, from a driving point of view, I mean, they're really reliant on aero. So as you get up to 100, around that sort of figure, you can really feel the sort of aerodynamics take over. So you want to keep the car nice and straight. Any sort of oversteer and understeer is not quick. And they obviously run on slicks as well, so any sort of slip angle you can quite quickly heat the tyres up. Apart from that, Chris is the one who spanners them and knows the ins and outs of what makes them go fast.
Yes, I mean they can be, with the aero, they can be quite sensitive. You've got to find the good balance between mechanical grip and aero grip. But they're pretty forgiving. You can go the wrong way a little bit with them, and it won't spit you off. It won't make the cars handle horrendously bad. So they're fairly forgiving. That's why they're quite good for people just to rock up with their own car. They look after in their own garage, turn up and chuck it on the track. You don't need to have done 2 days testing at each circuit and spent tons of money testing and tons of money on tyres. You can just rock up, and a baseline setup will work at most of the places. I mean, Matt's car, for instance, Matt was new to the series last year for the team that I'm involved with. And that's when I started with it as well. And we got up to grips with it probably in 2 or 3 meetings, didn't we? And I think all we do on that car now is a couple of clicks on the rear shocks and a whole of rear wing. I mean, when you find a baseline on them, you can rock up anywhere and you can be competitive with tons of other people. And that's what you need for a popular series. That is what you need to make it appeal to everyone.
Yeah. Because as we've mentioned many a time on the show before, there is tons of series out there that it's an arms race, effectively, isn't it? It's who's got the biggest wallet, who pours the most money into their race cars, and that's what I was going to ask. Is it? Do you get that kind of aspect?
No, we've got cars. No, we've got cars like the car we built for this year. So the team I'm with and Matt's with Vision Motorsport with the Phantom Racing cars. Matt's in a 1994 car. Cody, who commented a minute ago, I think his car's at a PR 94 or 95, and the new one we built to 21. So there's like 20 years difference between them, and they still go around at the same speed. Cody in his 94 car and Alex in his 21 car, they still go around at the same speed. You've got your 200 horsepower limit in CSP1, or I think it's 130 in Class 2. Mike and Pete can tell me if I'm right there.
It's about that. It's a sealed engine rather than a power limit. Yeah.
So you will run on Formula 3 slicks. We've all got rules like minimum ride heights, etc., and wings and what you can and can't do with them. So you can turn up in a 20-odd-year-old car, have the same power engine as everyone else, the same type of slicks as everyone else, and you can beat everyone. And that's why it's so good. That's why it's so good. If you spend 50 grand on upgrades a year, if you're mad enough to find ways of doing 50 grand of upgrades, you won't go barely any faster than someone who rocks up with the same car each meeting. It's that well regulated that you can be competitive at every track with all the guys. And that's what appeals to me from an engineering point of view. You've really, really got to, if you're trying to find the last 10th in the cars, you can get really picky and try some crazy little setup bits. But you know that when you get that car out at every single track, you'll be racing people, be really competitively racing people.
Oh, that's good. And it comes down to the driver then has to, find that extra little bit themselves, break that a little bit later. And this is, clean everything up. That's proper racing, not I've got, as you say, I've got 50 grand in budgeted for this weekend. Throw some new tyres on, boys. Throw this on there.
It's 600 quid for a set of tyres or whatever it is. That'll get you through a meeting, maybe 2 meetings. So, it's cheaper than a set of a lot of the tyres we've mentioned tonight already.
Yeah.
That'll do you for a meeting or two. We have, 3 15-minute races, I think. Yeah. So, and a qualifying. So you do an hour a weekend. You do an hour over 4 seconds through most of the weekends anyway. 600 quid should last you a meeting or two's worth of tyres. And you'll be competitive with everyone in your class.
Well, and
I love that.
And the tyres, as Chris says, they're just about £600 before that. So call it £700 with that. And Chris is talking from the point of view of somebody who wants to be right at the front of the Class 1 grid. Other people will make a set of tyres last the season in the other categories. And actually they won't be that far off the pace, because the cars with the less power, they don't use the tyres quite as hard, but they use the same tyre. And so the cost of running a car for the season can be really economical. And I won't mention any names, but there's a few tin top categories that I've looked at and heard what the costs are, and it just blows my brains as to what people are spending to go that slow. Whereas if you want to do, really quick lap times, you can race the Clubmans car and, for a fraction of the cost.
Well, the funny thing is, we obviously started this show and we're talking about lap times and stuff like that, and we're blowing our minds at just how quick these cars are effectively. So, I mean, looking at the classes, so my understanding, Jed, so there's 4 classes and it's 2 main classes and then the classics. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two modern classes, if you like, and the classic classes.
Yeah, so CSP1 is effectively 2-litre, 4-cylinder, producing no more than 200 horsepower. Well, if I wanted to, I could shoehorn the engine out of my Focus into a CSP1 car in theory and go racing.
And that's what we're using in that blue car. We use an ST170 engine in the blue car.
Yeah, with a 6-speed gearbox, limited slip differential. But I'm not going to, I don't want to name other series in particular. Let's just call it Rhyme Attack, where they will spend absolute fortunes on massive turbos and big aero kits and sequential gearboxes and slicks and all this, and spend hundreds of thousands of pounds, and in theory could potentially be slower than a Clubman's car that's made by good old-fashioned, what I would call garagistas, the old famous saying from Enzo Ferrari about Lotus, garagistas, tinkering at home, bit of this, bit of that. I wouldn't actually mind seeing a Clubman's car rock up to a certain meeting and seeing what they could do up against those cars, because they'd probably turn a few heads, that's for sure.
Well, they're quicker. I mean, Time Attack was at Donington recently, and I think the quickest car, was at the weekend. They did a 110, I think was the fastest lap round there. And a Clubman CSP1 will do a 107, 108 around the national.
That's bonkers.
So you're talking quicker for about a 10th, probably a 20th of what some of them spend.
Yeah. I like what Pete just said there. You can't get his head around how people spend so much money to go that slow. That's brilliant. I love that.
I'm glad you picked up on that, Nick. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely picked up on that. That is brilliant. I love that.
That's a good point. But let's be honest, Nick, we're guilty of that because I've got a slow tin top. You and Nick are in the middle of building a slower tin top.
To be completely honest, though, gents, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to get you guys on, is I'm not going to lie, I am a tin top fan. I've been a tin top fan since the days of the Super Touring, and I'm quite guilty on the club of focusing a lot more on tin top stuff because it's kind of the things I like. I've always been intrigued by the single-seater slicks and wings kind of thing. It's not that appealing to me, but then when you guys are talking costs and competitive racing and just how bonkers fast they are, I'm like, I want to go. I'm not big. I'm not asking for a go because I'm massive and 6'5", so I doubt I'll ever fit in one. But
no, you would.
Yeah, you get in one.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right then. Let's
You're asking for a free drive next. Don't say that.
No.
Bingo. Hang on, Chris.
That is not where I was going with that at all. But for me, I am a Tin Tops fan.
Yeah.
Hence, I'm building a rusty Vectra with my friend over there. But
Rob is, and at Silverstone, he stood on the pit wall with me for the start of the race. They went round turn 1, and he went, "Holy shit, they're quick!" And when you see him in the flesh, and you see him come past you at 110 through cops with just a little, Christ.
It wasn't just that, Chris. It was the way. So when you guys came through past on the Silverstone National, we know the Silverstone National was a fast circuit anyway, but the ground shook. Seriously, the ground shook because I checked the time. I think it was Steph. It might have been your first race in the Mini that weekend. So yeah,
that wasn't a race.
No, the brake pipe went, didn't it?
Yeah, that was your first breakdown of the year.
My first outing.
And it was only because I looked at the car with Chris in the pit lane, and it's beautiful. All of your cars are beautifully prepared. I've really got to say that. Absolutely brilliant builds. And just the fact when I did not expect that. And when Chris then turns around and goes, well, the top boys, they've got 200 horsepower Z-Tech engines or Duratec engines. They're limited to 200 horsepower, which...
Or MG's the other engine they use.
Yeah, the K-Series is a very popular engine too.
Yeah.
And you've got the likes of the lower modern class like CSP2. That's an almost bulletproof MG 1600 engine, 130 horsepower.
Well, even that's competitive. I mean, at Donington last year, I'll blow Matt's trumpet for him because he won't do it. At Donington last year in the wet, he qualified on pole by 2 seconds with a Class 2 car in the wet. So it just shows you.
You shouldn't have done that, really.
You shouldn't have done it.
It was a bit of a stressful situation. It was the what happened before qualifying, I think, that fired me up.
Yeah. The Earthly braking in the assembly area, so he got 1 time lap. But yeah, it just shows you that in the right conditions, and you know, it just shows you how even in terms of handling the cars are. You can rock up in a Class 1, Class 2. It's the same car apart from, or more or less the same car apart from the engine and diff, and you can be competitive. Yep.
The thing is, as well, you just saying there, obviously the Z-Tech ST170 that Rob's got, you know, if you're only going for 200 brake or 130 brake, that's also incredibly achievable numbers.
Absolutely.
To run those engines at a reliable rate as well.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. You're not stressing.
Again, you see, no, this is it. You see all these other series that pump tons of monies into their engine, and they just got it on this tiny little line that just takes one thing and detonates.
Yeah.
You know, if you're only running that kind of power out of these engines, it'll go on forever and ever, won't they? So,
yeah, well, it's quite interesting you say that, Nick. The Class 2 engines, which we're talking about, 130 brake horsepower, they're sealed, but generally the rebuild is every 5 or 6 years, something like that. It's just incredible. I mean, the engine we have in our car, I keep saying to the engine builder, isn't it about time we had a look at how much have you done? Oh, no, we'll do another year or whatever. I mean, it's just amazing.
Wow.
5 or 6 seasons out of 130 brake horsepower. As long as you keep up the oil and water in this, away it goes.
That's amazing.
The 1.8K series I got on my car, which is a CSP1, 200 horsepower. We built it in 2017. We've had the head off once just to sort of decoke it a bit. We took a big end off once and looked at it and said, well, that's fine, put it back on again, and still racing it 5 years later.
That's mad. Honestly, is just
what you can get out of an engine. It's not high, not so highly stressed, because the K series at 200 horsepower, it's not particularly over stressed.
That's honestly, I'm blown
not
away by that. That's brilliant.
They're not expensive cars to run.
And when because the big thing that we want to talk about this year is cost-effective racing.
Exactly.
That is mental. That is mental. So how light can you get these cars as well? So it's obviously a power to weight thing.
Yeah.
So we've got a weight limit on the CSP1 cars without driver, 460 kilos. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it 450, 460? I think it is something like that.
440 for CSP2, 460 for CSP1.
That's like my left leg. I mean, I'll go back to the comments because I have filled up a bit. Jonathan Bevan does put, in fairness, Rob, the chances of me or you fitting in a Clubman are not great. Also, racing in a roof isn't for everyone. I get that, Jonathan, but I do get your point into squeezing into a Clubman. There's a reason.
We got Grease.
Oh, really?
Grease.
Yeah. Okay.
Southern lard.
Yeah, Southern lard. Just rub it round with midriff, and we'll see if we can slot in there. Johnny Berry joins us this evening. Actually, hello, gents. Loved every minute of working with Chris and Matt getting his car ready for SNET a few months ago.
Thanks for the help.
He also makes a point. He fits in Matt's just fine. And to be fair,
fair enough.
You can have a go.
Yeah. Well. That's all right. I'll pay my way. Sam Pierce Motorsport does make the point here. Chow attack. I wasn't going to say anything. Fitzroy Motor. Only shame with Clubmans is that the races aren't longer than about 15 minutes. Is that because of track time scheduling, or is it for a fuel tank size reason?
Fuel tank.
No. It's you can have bigger tanks and everything like that. I mean, it's what we talked to the drivers about and what they wanted to get them. Their money, good value for money racing. As we talked about before, you can rock up and play around with the car. You're out at practice for 15 minutes, have a race 15 minutes, then you've got time to tinker it before your next race and everything like that. So the fact that you get 4 outings over a race weekend suits a lot of the drivers. I mean, we are a democratic club, and it was very much seeking the input of the drivers as to what you wanted. Now, and you can spend more on your track time if you want. I mean, and you can go and do other series if you want in the Clubman's cars. There are series out there for longer races as well. As long as the fuel tank in our car in the Class 2 will do at the Burkitt, we're doing about 40 minutes. I mean, this is it. The Burkitt is one of the great races. Obviously, we haven't been there the last couple of years because the Clubman's races with MSV have clashed the same weekend. But the Burkett has always been a brilliant race for us, a brilliant showcase for the Clubmans cars. A number of people come over and see where we're doing and the times we're doing. They just try and get their head around the cars and the pace of them.
Yeah,
So
I mean, just come back to the 15-minute races. I mean, the main reason we do that is that when we went to MSVR, we buy track time from MSVR, and hence the entry fees we charge to the members at no profit. And of course, the entry fee is going to be dependent on how big the entry is.
Yeah.
If we get 20 cars, it's going to cost them more than if we get 30 cars. And so we're keeping the entry fees now are cheaper than they were 4 years ago because we've got good entries. We're buying the track time from MSVR. We charge it out accordingly. We could go for an hour and a half track time, but that would increase the entry fees by 50%. So the format, as Mike said, a 15-minute qualifying, 3 15-minute races, is exactly what our members want. So we're just giving our racers,
you're giving them what they want. I mean, the fact that you guys get 3 outings as well. I mean, that's you don't often get 3 outings in a weekend. It's plus quality as well. Over an hour's worth of seat time. That's brilliant.
3 starts.
Some of us are still getting tired at the end of that. So
Well, the thing, actually, to be fair, I'd imagine they're quite physically demanding to drive, being, that they are aero, based. The fact that they weigh absolutely nothing, one of Rob's legs, as he's already pointed out.
I was actually on the data talking to one of our guys earlier, looking at the data from Thornton Park. So you're asking about physicality. So through turn 1, he was pulling just under 3G.
Yeah.
2.8G, 2.8G at Thornton Park through turn 1 in one of these things. That I can't remember what the speed was now, but it was about a ton. And it's mad.
About a ton into turn 1 at Alton, pulling just shy of 3G. Whoa.
It's about 100 at Paddock. It's what was it, Graham Hill, Ben? I can't remember now. But he's pulling nearly 3G. It was 120 through turn 1 at Snetterton, so that was about 2.5G. So I was going through it earlier, funnily enough, and it's relevant for tonight, obviously. So they're physical.
It got me the first time I tested one at Donington, going through the old hairpin. I think we did a full day of 4 sessions testing. First ever time I drove it, and I got out, and I was
the neck,
just completely gone. Okay, I'm gonna have to work on that, I think.
Okay, so where did the Clubmans so is this the only thing you've raced, Matthew? So this is the only thing you've raced so far. So where did it start for you?
Yeah, so I won a competition in 2020 with Alex Champkin and his Vision Motorsport engineering company. So it was for a drive for the 2020 year of racing, which obviously got pushed. Well, I think it actually did go ahead, but Alex was really kind enough to let me extend that into 2021. And I did the competition, which was through sim racing. I think there was around 100. Someone will correct me. People entered, and it was a few different tests. And then, the prize was a funded year of racing in 21, which was amazing. I'd only raced on simulators before that, so I did GT Academy in 2015. Came sort of close to winning, but didn't quite. So carried on sim racing, and I did a couple of years, a couple hundred, which is brilliant. And then this came around. So it's been really good fun to get out and do it for real.
Oh, brilliant!
Fantastic.
I mean, that's quite a good tie-up. Obviously, we're good friends with our friends of Gridfinder, who obviously sim race and race themselves. Obviously, it's a good tie that you've come from sim racing. I mean, I did GT Academy as well back in 2015, and I didn't even qualify, I don't think. So I got as far as sitting in the end of my bed with a homemade steering wheel thing, and
Did you have a steering wheel? Was it controller?
I think you went to Abu Dhabi.
I did. I think I borrowed a steering wheel.
Matt, you went to Abu Dhabi, didn't you? Was it Abu Dhabi for the final?
Yeah, they flew us out to Yas Marina. We didn't get too much track time because the temperatures was biblically hot. It was like 40 plus in the day.
No thanks.
And we did a lot of different challenges, driving all sorts of buggies, carts. We're in 350Zs, 370Zs.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd driven anything proper, apart from my Mini at the time. So it was all in the sim before that.
That's brilliant.
It's really good to come across because it's all quite relatable from sim racing to real.
It's very relatable, yeah, because you always wonder how guys from sim racing are going to do in cars. And I'll be honest, me and Alex were maybe not, I wouldn't say sceptical, but unsure how Matt would get on. And I couldn't be there for the test. I just remember getting a text from Alex going, yep, he's pretty shit hot. And it's just amazing the first time he stepped in the car and he was on it straight away. And that's most of that is skills he learned from sim racing. And obviously you've got to deal with the physical side of the cars. But yeah, he said he's pretty on it straight away, which is impressive. You can learn your technique, you can learn the craft, you can learn the tracks on sim racing, and all by the physicality. It's pretty much directly relatable to what you're going to go and do out on the circuit.
Yeah.
That is testament to the crossover. There is a really, really real crossover. You can use sim racing to go fast in a real car.
Yeah, I think one thing we just put in I think one thing about Matt's first season after sim racing, I remember one of the early meetings was like damp. It was quite greasy. And it was one of those things, do you go out on wets or on slicks and everything like that? And I saw Matt going out on slicks. I thought, oh my God, here we go. This newbie will be off into the boonies. And he wasn't. He was right up there, really going well. And I must admit, it amazed me how well he performed just on the back of sim racing and all that he'd learned from that.
I love that. So this, I'm actually going to direct this a bit more at Mike and Pete. So the cars you have you had them since the start, or and engineered it over time, or have you sold and bought your cars? What? Yeah.
Well, Pete, do you want to start off?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started racing. My first season of racing was 1972, which sort of ages me, doesn't it? So, and I've raced every year.
No,
I've done 51 seasons consecutively now. 41 of them. 41 in Clubmans. So
41 in Clubmans. What did you race before that?
I raced an MG Midget in mod sports back in the 70s. Then I did a couple of years in Formula 3 in the 80s. And then a couple of seasons in the noughties. I raced a mate of mine had got a Porsche Carrera Cup car, which we raced in some GT races. And I also had a go in a Ginetta G50 at Spa that year. But apart from that, it's all been Clubmans apart from that. So 41 seasons of Clubmans. This is my last year in Clubmans racing.
No.
Yeah, I can't. And so my this is not a plug, but my car is up for sale. It was a plug. Yeah.
You carry on.
But I think doing 41 seasons in racing just tells you how much I enjoy Clubmans. And
that is massively impressive.
I do intend to carry on being involved with the Clubmans register, and because I sort of act as a competition secretary and handle all the entries and that sort of stuff. So as long as the members want me to carry on doing that, then I'm happy to do that. Yeah. So the car I've got, I've had it since 2010. It was built in '93, so it's a Mallock Mark 30. I had to buy it in 2010 because I wrote off my previous car that year by turning it over at Alton Park. So coming up the pit road upside down and backwards, finished that car off. So it wasn't the best way to do it.
As you do.
So, pardon?
As you do.
Yeah. It wasn't intended, but it did stop right outside the medical centre, which was very convenient. So
good.
Straight in. But so that's a '93 car, and as Mike alluded to earlier, and Chris, a '93 car is a bit like Trigger's broom. I mean, there aren't so many parts on the car that were still there in '93, apart from the basic frame of the car, I guess. Everything else is probably new. And the car's still pretty competitive. I mean, I managed to have a win at Brands Hatch towards the end of last year, for instance, against some pretty good competition. So, yes, I can still do it, and the car's pretty quick. So,
I love that.
But I've owned a few Mallocks over the years.
There we go. So Mike, what about yourself?
Yeah, no, very similar. I mean, I started off at Clubmans. They drove some of the old Mallocks and that with the Formula Ford engine one, our classic Clubmans B class as it is these days. So with those many races over the years with lots of people like Glenn Eaglin, Paul Webb, a host of people who still circuit racing these days, and then just both sold cars, developed them over the years. The Mark 27 we have at the moment, I won the CSP2 class in 2017. Michelle Hayward won the class in 2018 in the car. And since then, I've done a few, and my daughter's started driving. So she was 18, 19. She decided she'd had enough of following me around the circuits for all those 18 years or whatever. It's about time she had a go. So she jumped in it, and yeah, she's doing right. And it's great to see there's quite a number of people who are sons or daughters of Clubmans drivers and other people in other series. We've got a good group of youngsters coming in these days, which is just really great to see that there is a future there. I mean, Pete, I know you say, Peter, your age, there's quite a few of us over 60s and whatever, but there's a lot of youngsters coming in. Obviously, Matt's one of them. There, Martin, Cody, Samantha. There's a whole host of youngsters there these days, which is really good. And they've just got such good spirits amongst the paddock with everybody.
That's good. That's what you need. That's what you want.
Yeah, the age profile is quite interesting because I did a little analysis of it a year or two ago. You might remember, Mike, that did the demographic, and
yes,
we've got a bunch of people sort of late 40s and above, very few in their 40s, and a bunch of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's it's a real sort of two-humped demographic that we've got. But the good news is we got this, as Mike says, we got the young people coming through, which an awful lot of motorsport series haven't got. They've just got this aging profile. So it's really good that we've got the youngsters like Matt and Alex and Cody and Samantha coming through to be the new Clubmans racers.
Oh,
I guess
that's good.
I guess the way a lot of people are finding out just how quick these cars are, it kind of, you're almost looking at GT speed for Clubman's money, clubby money, which is great. So I guess
than GT4. They're quicker than the GT4, and I think at every circuit we've shared with Radical SR1s and Sports 2000s this year, our pole times have been faster than a Sports 2000 or a Radical SR1 pole time for a fraction of the cost.
Wow,
it's an impressive, kit for impressive budget. It really is.
Wow,
absolutely.
So where do you so if someone is interested, where do you go to, like, obviously apart from buying Pete's car, where else can you sort of go and find them and pick them up from?
Yeah, they're on the Clubmans websites, clubmans.org or Mallock Sports or Vision Motorsport Engineering, who make the Phantom cars that Chris has talked about. So there are manufacturers. I know Mallock's got a new car they're just finishing off. Obviously, Alex's car that Chris works on is finishing 21. So there are new cars being manufactured as well as a host of second-hand ones around. So there's a good resale market for them.
We've actually got a new car in build at the moment. The chassis has just been finished, so there'll be another Phantom available to either arrive and drive or buy probably from early next year. So there is actually another new car coming through. But there's a strong second-hand market as well. Like obviously, Pete's is for sale, and every now and then another one comes up. So whether you want new or second-hand, you're going to get a good car out of it either way.
But the best way if anybody's genuinely interested is talk to any of us in the club or contact us through our Facebook page or website, because we know all the cars that are available and around.
That's good. And as you say, you've got cars from '93 still winning races and competitive. So it's good, like you say, that you don't have to have the newest build car out there to be successful, etc., like that. So no,
the car that's won, I don't know how many times in CSPB, the classic class, that dates back to, let me get this right, mid 70s.
Wow.
That's Barry Webb's car. He's been champion. I've lost count how many times. About 20, is it, or something? He'll correct me if I get it wrong. But
last year champion Steve, Pete. What year is Steve's Mallock? Because he was champion last year in CSP1. I'm not sure.
So his car would be, mine's 93. His would be 91 or 92.
And that was overall champion, CSP1 champion last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And he's won a few races this year.
Yeah.
And these are... Go on, Nick.
So all I was going to say, like the construction of the car itself, is it a mainly space framed car with fiberglass panels? Obviously, we've seen some of the engineering in the car that you deal with, Chris. But I'm not that engineeringly minded for cars. I'm pretty rubbish with it, but it's majority space frame, fiberglass panels, wings, and.
I can't think of a car in Clubmans that isn't a space frame chassis.
Okay.
But the regulations do allow a monocoque, but it's got to be made of steel or aluminium.
Okay.
We couldn't have a carbon one, for instance, because that's under control.
Kind of defeats the object, doesn't it?
Ben Bowlby, you might remember Ben Bowlby, who made that Delta Wing car that raced at Le Mans a few years ago for Nissan. When he was young, he made a Clubmans car, and he did make a monocoque Clubmans car.
That's cool.
Wasn't particularly successful, but he did make one, and it worked. So I think every car I can think of is a space frame at the moment.
So that would be another thing. Obviously, the engineering involved with these cars. Sorry, Rob, I've jumped in front of you again. Obviously, do you get like a lot of like maybe colleges or universities and stuff like that like to get involved? Obviously, being that it's quite an engineering-based race series. I mean, we see it. We see it across different series and championships. That a lot of universities get involved with their students to be able to just go, have a go at this. I mean, do you get a lot of that with you guys, or?
In our team, we've got a couple of lads that are helping us this year who are doing a motorsport or something's related as either a university or a college course. So yeah, we've got one or two that help us, one at most meetings and a couple at various other meetings. But we give them a bit of a chance to get some experience of some of them hands-on, some of them just being there helping on bits. Yeah, we give them a chance just for something relevant to go over what they're learning. So while me and one or two of the other guys are more hands-on, they still get a bit of a feel for how motorsport works, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, as you say, we have had some colleges and schools help out. We do get students coming along and that. So, but we haven't really had any universities. I think they've always plumbed for something a bit more glitzy, shall we say, or whatever, than the couple of series and that. So, but no, we're always welcome with people like that want to get involved, certainly.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was going with it. You see a lot of F1 engineers and things like that obviously coming up through university. I just wondered, because it is very engineering based race series, if you did attract, maybe someone would begin there and work their way up the ladder effectively.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
In the past, there's been quite a few lads who've sort of from school, like myself, started helping somebody in Clubmans, and then went on into F1 at an era when you needed a broad range of skills and everything like that. There's quite a few guys I know. I was myself involved with Ferrari, and there's Nick Collett there at Ferrari. He started off life with Clubmans, and you've got Ben Mallock, who's one of the senior aerodynamicists, I think, these days with Alpine. He's obviously got involved in Clubmans just after he left school. So it has brought on a lot of youngsters into the world of F1 and engineering, certainly.
Oh, that's good.
So, back to the cars themselves. So, obviously, the aluminium space frame and things like that. But
steel space frame.
Oh, still space frame. So, you say they're like Trigger's broom. So, obviously, parts are still readily available from the manufacturers. So that's good. But in terms of actually looking after the chassis themselves, I mean, they can set fast lap times, very quick, lots of aero on the cars. So how much sort of maintenance goes in over a winter? Do you sort of have to rebuild the chassis every so often, or is it just a case of just do your usual checks and go?
It's really just a case of usual checks and go. I mean, I think somebody like Chris will no doubt testify, Matt, Alex seems to like to strip his down and have a look at them, but others just give it a once over. I mean, after a while, you know the points to keep an eye on the car, the weak points. Obviously, you can speak with the manufacturer like Phantom or Mallock, certainly. Mallock's know the age of the car, what to look out for that era, period car and everything like that. And it's just a case of a good going over, checking all the rose joints on it, all the bushes, everything like that. I mean, the car that my daughter drove, she's driven it, say, for the last couple of seasons. And I was out in it the other week, and I'd done some work on it. I thought, I'll just track it up and do the corner weights and the the whole alignment, and it hadn't moved over 2 seasons of racing. So they are really, really good. I mean, it's just, it's as long as you don't go counting the sausage curbs all the time and things like that, then you will start damaging them. But if you are a sensible driver, you can they'll go on and they don't really move that much. I don't know whether Pete, you find the same type of.
Well, I think you and I are speaking from knowledge of Mallet cars, and I think a Mallet is engineered with the owner driver in mind. So if you like, they're a little bit over engineered. So some of the joints are perhaps a bit bigger than they would be if you were going for the ultimate. But that makes for a really friendly car to run, because the parts tend to last quite a long time. They don't wear out, and as Mike says, you can get away with just a good check over. I mean, I always check my car over after every meeting, and then take quite a few bits of it every winter and have a good look at it. But that's all. It's not ridiculous. It's the sort of thing an owner with a bit of knowledge and some tools can do.
Yeah, I've literally hit the nail on the head. I mean, what Mike said, I can echo for Matt's car over the winter. He did a full season last year. I think half the rounds were wet. It was a bit of a minging year at times. And like Mike said, I corner weighted Matt's at the start of this year, and I went, oh, okay, half a turn on that one, and that platform, and it's done. I think it had some wiring jobs done over the winter. The wiring was a bit old, so it had a bit of wiring done. Corner weighted it, and off it goes. Whereas the new car for this year, the new one, it's taken a bit more work, because obviously new builds, you've got to get used to them. So, and the class 1 is obviously a bit quicker than the class 2. So we've been finding our feet with that one a bit. But now the last couple of rounds, we know the bits that shake loose. I mean, it's just a good spanner check. It's just a good spanner check now. Yeah. And then wearing out floor bolts from running over curbs and constantly changing floor bolts. But other than that, it's we're on top of it now, and it's pretty good. They're pretty good. Yeah.
So your involvement in the series, Chris, where did that sort of come in?
So I got asked by Alex, who owns the team and owns Phantom Racing, who Matt drives for. He asked me a couple of years ago if I could help out. I was a customer of his. I bought some setup equipment from him, because his business makes setup equipment and flight cases. And I couldn't do it that year. I couldn't do it. I said, sorry, mate, can't help you out. And then he contacted me at the start of last year, and he said, oh, any chance you could help us? I was like, you know what? I mean, I love prototypes. I love prototype racing. I love endurance racing. I love single seaters. That's my background. So I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's give it a go. Alex asked me to help out with Matt's car. Matt couldn't do the first round, didn't have his license because of COVID and everything. So I ran Alex at that one, and we went out, won the first race in CSP2, got second in the second one. And I had such a blast working on the cars. They're awesome. Like you said, Rob, you saw the engineering in them. And for an engineering geek like me that loves to go into the nth degree on things and fiddle, it was amazing. And then also from the club's point of view, I mean, the reason I've spoken to you guys about doing this Clubmans podcast, if possible, and the reason I spoke to Mike and Pete about it, because from a club point of view, it's awesome. The guys put on a breakfast, sausage or bacon back on a Sunday morning. There's a bit of a on Saturday night. Everyone has a drink in the paddock. Everyone gets on, and from a club point of view, like the word club could not be any more relevant. I work in tons of series. I think I'm doing about 6 different series this year, and there's a couple, and Clubmans is one of them, that are really, really fun to work in. And I'm glad when the opportunity came up, I said yes, because it's a really fun place to be. Everyone's cool there. The cars are up my street. They're really geeky. So from an engineering point of view, I can geek out to my heart's content, which is awesome. So if you like playing with cars and you like getting on with people, then go and have a look at Clubmans. I mean, there's no reason not to. And the budget is much more sensible. After you bought your car, obviously, the budget is a lot more realistic. And even the car prices are realistic. But the budget is a lot more realistic than a lot of other things. So it makes a lot of sense to have a good look at them. But yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm looking forward to Brands in 2 weeks. Can't wait. It's going to be great. It's home circuit for me, so I can go home at night instead of sleeping in the truck. But yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, good man.
It was just, I mean, the bit that struck me, Chris, when I was looking over that car with you, it was just, obviously we're geeking out over the engineering side of it, but everything was still very simple, very basic.
Yeah. I mean, nothing is over the top. I mean, on the Phantom, we've got push rod, rockers and push rod inboard suspension, but even on the front, but even that's not over the top. But yeah, everything's simple, everything's accessible. We can make bits for ours. Alex has got a CNC mill, so we can make our own uprights, so we can change bits and modify them to our heart's content. But even the uprights are really simple. There's nothing overly complicated about them, really. It's the whole car is it makes sense. You look at it and you go, oh, that's how the steering works, that's how the suspension works, that's how the drivetrain works. And there's only a few wires on it. We haven't got brake lights, you haven't got headlights. You've got a starter, you've got a rain light, you've got your gauges and an alternator, or some of them have alternators. Not all of them have alternators to save some weight and some drag. They're really, really, really simple, really user friendly.
I love that. Vicky Pratt does make a good point from the other side of the Pratt household. The annual awards night is great.
Yeah. Well done, Mike, keeping it together last year.
Yeah. Everyone loves a good piss up.
Yeah. But Chris is right. The social side of it is fantastic as well. I mean, it's Saturday nights at the circuit. Most people have a barbecue together. So whilst we race hard on the track, we all have a good time together in the paddock as well. So it's a great little community, really. Clubmans, the Clubmans family.
That for me is what makes a series of championship, what have you. It is the whole great racing on track, having a whale of a time, but afterwards with a drink, a beer, a burger, what have you, and you're all just, that overtake I did on, or this happened. And that for me, I'd probably enjoyed that a little bit more than I do the racing side of things. So yeah, if you've got that present in your club, then well done. That's good.
And as long as I've known it, that's always been present in Clubmans. It's always had this sort of great atmosphere, which is why people
builds a better respect, I think, for the racing.
There's not a lot of incidents through the year. That's all. There's a lot of respect.
Yeah, and if somebody has got a problem, the guys will all be mucking in, helping out whoever's got problems on the Saturday night. There'll always be somebody, and there's a few real good stalwarts of the club who are good spanner men and drivers who sort of soon go and help out the opposition. If he's got a problem, make sure he gets back out on the track the following day.
Yeah, well, we had it this year at Donington Park. Cody couldn't race the Saturday, but his dad was there, and Matt had an upright failure, so they took a bit off their car and went, "There, guys, go racing." Yeah, so we got lent parts off of another car to get us through, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's just typical. Isn't it? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So a lot of club racing paddocks need to be like that, because sometimes I think the competitive side of it just gets a bit too ingrained with some people. They think it is the British Touring Car Championship.
Yes. We're not going to be touring car drivers or Formula One drivers, guys. You go out for a laugh at the weekend. As we said, didn't we? It should be about the hustle and bustle of your day-to-day grind. You put that to one side, you go and have fun with your friends. Yeah. That's what it should be about.
No, it's extremely fair. The thing for me, the one of the best points of the series and the way it's run and policed, if you like, is the fact that at various points during the year, people will be given a power meter to run on the car just to check, that the engine is doing what it should do, 200 horsepower, no more. And we had it earlier this year on the new car. And there's a lot of series. And I know it's an issue that's come up on this podcast and chats we've had various times about dynos and rolling roads at circuits, and people can abuse it because after the race you can change your map and you can go, "Oh, I'm legal," Whereas this, you can't lie. If you've got a power meter on the car, it's recording what is happening when you're going around the racetrack.
Real time, yeah.
It shows up.
Yeah.
So exactly, as Pete said, it's real time. You can't do a dodgy on it. If all of a sudden you've got a power meter and you go 2 seconds a lap slower, it's kind of obvious what was going on. So the great thing for me, from a parity with the car's point of view and keeping everyone competitive, is that it's so fair. If they want to police you, they'll do it live and they'll see what's going on while you're racing. And it's such a better way of doing it than certain other ways that are being used out there.
Yeah. Exactly. So Jonathan Bevan makes a point here. That's why Clubmans is successful, as the cars are policed, regulated, and controlled.
And the best thing is, although we do all of that Chris says, we've never caught anybody cheating yet. I think for most Clubmans drivers, I think for most Clubmans drivers, they just wouldn't think about cheating like that. That is just not part of the ethos of Clubmans.
No, for me, it's great to rack my brains and spend ages trying to work out a way of making Matt or Alex go a tenth or two faster than just doing a dodgy.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing for me. It really is. if you want it to be an engineering formula, you can go nuts and you can go crazy on the engineering and play around with the handling to try and get the last little bit out. The car will work fine. The car will be competitive anyway, but it's you've really got to be on it to find that last little bit from doing it from a fair point of view. And it's such a good way to race for everyone, mechanics and drivers and everyone.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're talking about parity and it being fair. Could you imagine sitting in your living room looking at your trophy cabinet, knowing that you'd hookied your car and you you bought all those trophies? Like, oh, look how successful I am. I couldn't do it.
No, when you win them in this, you've won them. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
My wife Joy's asking, can we see that 30-second video of the in-car stuff that?
Unfortunately, when I tried to upload it about 45 minutes before the show started, it's in the wrong format for StreamYard. It didn't like it. Didn't want to upload it, unfortunately. So I do apologise for that. I do apologise for that. But the one thing we have got are some superb pictures here that Joy's actually made. I mean, that as a grid.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't look out. I mean, putting it bluntly, that would not look out of place at something like Le Mans or Spa-Francorchamps, somewhere like that. So, you know, and it's a credit to you guys, like I said. I mean, that as a classic field, those cars, they're unique. They look fast. I mean, the aerodynamics on it. You know, we're not aerodynamicists, but that as compared to a tin top.
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
The aero works right; it really does. Like, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, one of the first things I did when I first came into Clubmans all those years ago is we thought, what if these wings actually do anything? So at a test day, we took the rear wing off just for one lap. We came back in and put it back on again.
You're right. Good God, that rear's a bit twitchy.
I had a bit of a realization. At Brands GP this year when the diffuser, I got a little bit greedy with the curb, and the rear diffuser decided that it no longer wanted to be on the car, and you know about it. Hawthorne's was flat with all of the aero intact.
So sorry, Matthew, just on that. So the aero as well, I take it that's developed. Is that wind tunnel worked with the manufacturers like your Maleks, like your Phantom, or is it all done sort of ad hoc?
It would have been a long time ago. We do bits along the way. So on Matt's car, it's the regular basic Phantom aero. So they would have been all of the cars I expect would have been in a tunnel back in the day. I don't think a lot of the body shapes have probably changed a lot since then. There's little bits. I'm not going to tell everyone the tricks, but there's little bits we've done on that to make the floors work a bit better, or little bits work a little bit differently. So there's little things we've done, but the 97% of the aero on it is as it would have been out the tunnel back when the cars were developed a long time ago. In our case, anyway. Mike and Pete can tell you otherwise on this.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely the case. Yeah.
Go on, Mike, you were going to say?
Yeah, I say they're similar for the Maleks that I've got experience of. Arthur Malek was very, lots of cartoons about him with his pipe in wind tunnels with his cars and things like that. And I know I went into the Myra wind tunnel once with a Malek car trying it out and that. And then also people do measurements on the tracks themselves with coast downs and suspension deflections and that. So you haven't always got to spend huge sums going in wind tunnels and that. There are other cheaper ways of getting the similar results.
Well, we did it on Matt's car at Donington last year. So as you said, you can do it in a cheaper way. So I made my own Floviz paint. You know, the high vis stuff they put on Formula One cars. We made some and we tested it on Matt's car last year. And I tell you what, even making the Floviz up cost me about a tenner. And the amount of things it showed up, the little bits it showed up, and from what we learnt there, we found out that his rear wing was pretty inefficient. So we've changed his wing for this year. Mm-hmm. And there was a couple of other things that came up. So just making Floviz paint, and you've got to be able to understand what it's doing. But yeah, by using paint and taking photographs and seeing what that's doing, you can actually work out some really some of the really more simple things. If something's very draggy, if it's inefficient, if you've got a bit of flow separation, you can work that out from 10 quid's worth of Floviz. And then you can start to develop things yourself and retest it and see if it worked, see if it didn't work. Again, part of the engineering side, which I love, which drives me mental, but I love it.
I love that.
You can learn quite a lot on a wet day when it's when you can see where the airflow's been from the sort of where the water's been on the car as well,
or an oil leak. They work as well.
I was going to say, if anyone wants any coolant for that sort of thing, I can lend them the engine out of my car. That seems to do the trick. We've got a comment from overseas. I think I forgot to mention earlier. This is actually an international show. I'll explain shortly why. Kenneth Arvidsson. I've competed with my daughter Monica in Scandinavian Clubmans since 2016, and a few races in the UK in 2018. It is without a doubt the best, most enjoyable, and most affordable form of racing. Really love it, and all the Clubmans. Thank you for commenting.
Oh, brilliant.
The reason I say this is a truly international show tonight is, Matthew, whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm sat in Cyprus.
You lucky git. Another
on holiday.
First.
He's sat in Cyprus, but he's here chatting to us.
Exactly.
Dedication to motorsport.
Exactly. Well, that's what it's all about, the dedication to motorsport.
That's an idea. We should all go to somewhere overseas, shouldn't we, for a podcast another day? Do it from, I don't know, Isle of Wight or something. Easy for you guys. Simple for you guys.
It's cheap. It's probably cheaper to go to Cyprus than it would be to go to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, that ferry is
podcast on tour.
Of Clubracing UK on tour. I mean, to be honest,
we are going to take this podcast on tour one day.
Yeah, Bathurst.
Yeah, I knew you'd say Bathurst.
That's almost a bingo.
Bingo. I've run out.
Yeah, that is almost a bingo. But well, could you imagine that Neil Crompton sat at his desk and said, "Move over, lads. Come on, Nick. Come on, Steph. Come on, just and just start broadcasting live."
We've got the British Larko here, haven't we? So you can shun him out the way, Rob.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Right, Stefan, whilst we've got you ready and waiting on the show, we need to talk about, we need to put the brakes on a competition, don't we? More or less the EBC brakes competition. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
The EBC brakes competition is coming to an end, so we just need to discuss that quickly. So, Steph, over to you, my friend.
But it comes to a close tonight, so we've got 2.5 hours, really. So the competition we've got at the moment is from EBC Brakes, and you've got a chance to win a full disc and pad setup for your car. All you need to do is become a member of Clubracing UK. So if you head to the website, www.clubracinguk.co.uk, become a member, £2 a month or £20 for a whole year, and you'll be automatically entered into all of our competitions. Obviously, the EBC Brake one is at the moment. And also, at the same time, you get discounts on many of our partners that are on board, option discounts. So yeah, get yourself a membership. The other thing,
and potentially win some disc and pads.
Yeah, you win some disc and pads. The other thing we've got at the moment is the summer raffle. So if you head to our website, head to the shop, you can buy a raffle ticket. As we found out earlier, Nick, the summer raffle comes to a close when?
September 23rd.
Is it 23rd? Good man, I can't remember.
That's what you said. You Googled it. So can I just explain?
When summer officially ends.
That idiot over there was like, September tomorrow, summer's over. I was like, no, there is an official day that summer is over. So yeah, September 23rd, I think, is the official day. Summer is officially over.
So that'll be when the raffle closes. So you get your ticket. It's £5 for a single ticket, or we've got a deal for 10 tickets for the price of 5. So that'll be £25. And you can win multiple prizes. So the prizes are a fully paid race entry fee up to £400, a track day courtesy of Marketing Delivery, £200 worth of Super Pro products, courtesy of VW Doctor, 2 £50 custom racewear vouchers, courtesy of Turn 7, Uncle Luke's sign and sticker shop surprise bundle, Clubracing UK teamwear t-shirt, and Clubracing UK sticker back. So for a £5, you could win yourself a fully paid race entry fee. So well worth the £5, I think. So again, it's on our shop, on the website. Go check it out.
There we go, guys. So that is the latest competitions. So back to our Clubmans, guys. So it really, we're sort of coming towards the end of the show. So the one thing I wanted to ask all four of you, really. So what does the future hold for you guys with the Clubman series? Are there any plans to develop your cars, do anything more with them, or is it as you are? We'll start with Mike and Pete first. Obviously, Pete, you said earlier you were effectively hanging the helmet up at the end of the year, but
Well, I from racing, yeah, I'm going to carry on doing some sprinting and hill climbing, but in a tin top. But
the slow tin top.
yeah, something more befitting to my age. So
yeah, but you can also do it with your wife, Pete. That's the other thing, isn't it? You
yeah. We'll be sharing the car. We'll be sharing the car. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That is brilliant.
Well, Pete, whatever you carry on and make sure you do, keep in contact with us and send us clips, snippets of whatever you're up to. And hopefully we will bump into you at a sprint or a hill climb sometime soon. Mike?
Look out for my little red GI Yaris, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Mike, what about yourself? Is it business as usual for yourself? Or
Yeah, really. I obviously, my daughter's driving in the CSP2 class. I'm building up a CSP1 car that is taken a back seat, I'm afraid, over the last couple of years, but I'm determined to really get that built up and get back out in the CSP1 car. I mean, I've had the odd drive in other people's cars, so really enjoyable to drive the powerful cars again. And obviously with the Clubman series, really try and keep it going from strength to strength. Our CSP1 class, we rejigged about, what is it now, 5 or 6 years ago, and it's just really lit up everybody's enthusiasm for Clubmans. The class has increased in numbers, and people are still building cars for it, which is great to see it. So it's more of the same, and keep attracting the youngsters in. That's the future, really. I mean, this is it, and they're there enjoying themselves. Hopefully, they're the ones of the modern social media generation, that they need to spread the word more amongst themselves and the outside world. So some of us Luddites do look at it every now and again, but it doesn't come naturally to us. So no, it's just keep all these balls in the air and everything going forward. That's what it's all about. And just keep spreading the word about Clubmans.
Yeah, and to reinforce what Mike says, is the key thing we do is talk to all the racing members about what they want for next year and beyond. Yeah. So which circuits do they want to go racing at? Is there something different they'd like to do? I mean, for instance,
Castle Coombe.
Yeah, I think Coombe's looking popular now, isn't it?
We asked them a year ago if they'd like to do something different for next year in terms of a circuit, and we've got that well and truly on our radar. I think that's pretty well organised, that we're going to have a weekend at a different circuit to one we've raced at for some years.
Absolutely. I think Cody definitely agrees with that.
I
didn't
say it was Castle Coombe, though. But you told him it's not Hill yet, so it's a 20-hour drive for him.
No, it's on an island, so it's not actually on the mainland, but on the British mainland quite. So there's a good clue.
That'll be Anglesey then.
I've not actually been around there, but I think Cadwell must be amazing, one of these cars.
Yeah. No, I think both Peter and I have driven around Cadwell, and it is amazing track. But this is it. Anglesey's is as good fun, and at least the barrier is a little bit further away than just on the side of the track, which is one of the issues with Cadwell if you've ever driven it.
Yeah. And the facilities are pretty nice at Anglesey too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a circuit that needs a lot more. It's a circuit that needs a lot more attention in terms of series going there, and just more enthusiasm about it, because it's a great facility. So one last question for you guys. I'll put it to the three drivers mainly. If you could take your Clubman's car to any circuit in the world and race it, where would you go? Let's go Mike first.
Well, we have been fortunate enough to go to Spa, and I must admit, I really enjoyed that, and would love to take the Clubman's cars back over there. I mean, it is going through Eau Rouge is still handing your heart in your mouth job in the Clubman's car, and that maybe it's dead boring in the Formula One, but in the Clubman's car, my experience was always really enjoyable. So I would love to go to Spa again.
Matthew, what about yourself?
I'm going to go for Imola. I've got to say.
That's a good choice.
It's not.
Good.
The straights aren't too long, so you won't be in the limiter for that long, and you can use the aero. It's always my favourite track on whatever simulator I'm trying at the time, so you've got to go for that.
I love that.
Nice.
You don't hear Imola that often, but that's one of those. It's one of those tracks that's very demanding, very fast. Pete, what about yourself? Any
Okay,
racetrack in the world?
I go a bit left field now because I spent a few years ago. I spent the day through work driving around Sonoma Raceway in California, and it was bloody marvelous. And so if this is a desert island disc selection, I mean, like Mike, I've raced a few times at Spa, and that's great. But I'd go for Sonoma.
You go for Sonoma. Interesting. Go on, Chris. You work on the cars, but if you had the chance to drive, I mean, we're talking to Chris, F1 Jordan Supremo driver. As people didn't realise the other day, Chris became Takuma Sato the other day and drove a Jordan Formula One car, which I'll ask you about that in a minute. But any racetrack in the world, Chris, where would you take a Clubmans car?
So I would have actually said Spa. Actually, Zolder is quite technical. You've really got to watch taking too much curb. It's got a good bit of undulation to it. So I think Zolder might be quite good. It's not too long. It's not a massive GP circuit. So I think Zolder might be quite cool.
We did have a Clubmans race there in...
oh, really?
Yeah, 2000. We went over there for the weekend at a race there. Yeah, it was quite fun.
Right?
But it rained like hell on the Sunday.
Yeah, Belgium, yeah.
Yeah.
Always rains.
Yeah. Now, Cody Tree has put in a comment of where he would like to take his Clubmans car. Can anyone take a guess? There we go.
There it is.
Who's this Cody fella anyway?
Dan Thackeray Racing, our lovely ambassador, actually comes in as well with a suggestion. Suzuka.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, how about Portimao? That's another good one. That'd be interesting. One of the Clubmans car.
Anywhere not too bumpy because they're only like 40 mil off the floor. So
oh, that rules Bathurst out then. Imagine going up the mountain.
Yeah, I was about to say that would be that one.
Forget the street circuits.
Oh yes, good point. Actually, you need somewhere that's
Singapore, Macau, Valencia Street. Yeah, they're all too bumpy.
Fantastic, guys.
Just give you more chance to change some floor bolts, Chris.
Yeah. I love that, getting the chisel out and the Torx bits to get the damn things off.
Yeah. I love that. Well, guys, we've had a great show tonight, just ticking over an hour and a half now, and it's great to have you guys on to talk about all things Clubmans Register, the Clubmans series, the classic Clubmans. Great to have you guys on. So if you're watching, listening, and you want to get some more information about the Clubmans Race Series, just get yourself down to the Clubmans Race site, which is www.clubmans.org, which is a website not used very often, but so it's basically clubmans.org. So get yourself onto the website there, have a look at what cars are about, and if you want to lap Brands Hatch, and I was looking at the lap records, even the modern P2 cars are doing it in 48 seconds. That's astounding.
48 seconds.
Was it 46 in a CSP one? I think it is.
Yeah, 46 in a Class 1, 46. Just I know, Nick. Phenomenal.
Hold on. What weekends? When are you there?
Full Power Live.
2 weeks time. Yeah.
Oh, I'm working that one, aren't I? That's why I can't go.
Yeah.
Sicky. Matt's not watching. Throw a Sicky.
Okay. I'm working on it.
But apart from that, obviously, you've got Full Power Live. What other dates? So you've got Donington Park towards the end of the year, haven't you?
Donington at the end of October, yeah. Last Saturday in October.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Have we got any quick exclusives on what the circuits are looking like for next year? Is it very much the same, or are you? Obviously, Cody is really going to push for Coombe.
We're hoping we'll have a provisional calendar to look at by the time we get to Brands Hatch in a couple of weeks.
Oh, superb! So you're getting it in nice and early for next year. I like that. Hopefully, a lot of other championships are also taking.
It's one of the good things about working with MSVR. They do these things early.
They own everything.
It does help, doesn't it?
It's a good point. So my thanks to our guest tonight. The only thing I can say, Steph, Nick, any other business?
Yes. Tune in on our YouTube channel tomorrow. Is this still happening, Steph, before I make a clanger?
No. Yeah, go ahead. It's going.
Yeah, so we have the next Vector episode is coming back out on YouTube tomorrow. So the build is happening. We are teasing you with a few things. We tried our first bit of rapping the other day. Yeah.
That was fun.
That was great fun. I'll tell you
Thanks.
something. It's way easier than all these companies make it sound. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, seriously. So it'd be cool to tune into the next Vectra build. It is speeding up quite quickly now, which is quite exciting. So yeah, tune in tomorrow. What's that? 7:30 tomorrow, Steph? YouTube.
Yeah, 7:30 tomorrow night, and also the following week will be when I went to Alton Park with Dan Thackeray.
Oh,
so the following
there
Thursday
we
as
go
well.
then.
So
look at that.
Tune
Good
in.
couple of YouTube videos inbound.
Yeah. So everyone that's currently watching on the YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you'll be notified when the videos go up.
Yeah, definitely.
There we go, guys. So is that every
That's
other
it from
one?
me.
That's everything?
That's it from me.
Oh, we're all happy to go. So from myself, Robert Lewis, and my co-host Nick Holmes and Stefan Marsh, it's been a pleasure to bring you this episode of the Club Racing UK podcast. Massive thanks again to our 4 wonderful guests this evening, Chris Pratt, Mike Evans, Mathieu GT, and Pete Richings. It's the Club Racing UK podcast in association with Silver Lake Automotive Recycling. Good night, everyone.
Good night.